So I knew the type of things that I needed to do, so in understanding of pupils' learning and how they develop, but I was still very much relying on my mentor and my department for advice on how to tackle those sort of things, how to build those next steps, and using them more and more to help me develop them myself. And now I am much more established in doing it myself with my own classes. I'm now teaching them in a stream instead of sort of jumping sometimes as you do on your PGCE. You don't always teach them every lesson, but now every lesson, so I can see how those steps are building up, and I'm much more confident in developing them myself.
Okay, lovely. And is there anything you've done in particular with regards to that? Can you give any examples?
So as a department, we've been working recently on the new scheme of learning, particularly with the new curriculum coming in. We've been working together on how we can build a sequence of lessons in the new scheme of learning. And with that, we're creating booklets for each module or each sort of section of maths. And we're each doing one ourselves and then putting them together, which will make teaching much easier because we've already got all the resources made, and it helps at each step. During your booklet, you have to create all the steps of learning for that entire section. So that's been quite a helpful, real example that I've been doing of it.
Lovely, thank you very much. And are there any other sort of examples you could give to illustrate that?
So I guess looking at pupils' work and having to adapt lessons from seeing how much they've been able to do in the lesson, if I've pitched it slightly too high early on, and having to adjust and change it up for them to make sure that they can achieve all these things, if it's breaking it down and doing it in slightly smaller steps because they just need that time. I think that's been the big one. Looking through their books has been really helpful, and actually having access to their books the entire time. Obviously you don't always get that during a PGCE year, but having that now so I can see what they're able to do, how much they can do independently, has been really helpful for me to see their progression in learning.
Lovely, thank you. So in terms of, obviously we meet quite regularly because I'm your NQT mentor, and obviously I've come in and observed you teach as well, and we've had quite sort of reflective discussions sort of around that, and as part of that obviously we've talked about that progression in learning and what I've seen in the classroom that you've been able to demonstrate, and then what you've talked about more holistically about that particular class. And obviously during our fortnightly meetings, we talk about progress for yourself, but also for the pupils that you're teaching, and looked at lots and lots of examples. So hopefully, you know, those kinds of things have helped as well, I imagine. Yeah, it's helped steer in the right direction, particularly for this school, what the aims and the focus are, because this was not one of my placement schools, and each school does everything differently. So having that advice of how this school is wanting to focus progression in learning has been incredibly helpful. Good, thank you. So what steps did you take then yourself?
So advice from NQT mentor, obviously, and then AOLE heads and my entire department have been incredibly helpful. Speaking with the head of years, I found incredibly helpful in planning for that particular class. I've got a particularly interesting year 8 class, as you know, so liaising with the head of year and finding out what will work with them, strategies to help them achieve in learning and to progress, has been incredibly helpful. So with them I see them a lot in the afternoon, so building in strategies to help them have been very effective. Things like brain breaks, the use of fidget toys, and different things that really help them progress in their actual learning. Attending the CSC sessions that were after school last term, well, I had them all after school, were incredibly helpful to be able to sort of help you focus your own research, because now it is very much a personal research, you are choosing the topics, and that helped me focus what I wanted to look at. Yeah,
I mean,
there's been a lot of things, hasn't there? A lot has happened in the term, and there's a lot that you don't always realise is helping with your progression in learning. So all of the stuff that we've done on inset days or the teaching and learning forums after school have helped it. They're just not always the things that immediately come to mind when you think of it, but they all help to build the collective.
Okay, so I was just interested in what research and inquiry activities sort of supported your progress in this standard, really?
So at this school we have NQT induction sessions after school, which have been really helpful because it's given us an insight to the school, it's helping us sort of mould us into good NQTs for St Cyres. We've also had the NQT sessions by CSC, and I'm going to have my first Aspire course on Wednesday, which will be really nice to be able to write PLEs, discuss teaching standards and teaching practice, moving from that PGCE student into NQT. And I've observed quite a few lessons in my own department to see how is teaching done here with a particularly low ability class. I've seen the mirror class in the year above to see what that relationship with the teachers like, how you build that relationship and the sort of expectations that you'd expect from these pupils, because they're not the same as another class. So it's what progression in learning can we get from these individuals, which has been incredibly helpful for me. And as part of the school, we do pupil voice a lot, and as a department we then look in quite a lot of detail about it. We're mathematicians, we love a bit of data. So we then use it a lot to base our own discussions on, stuff that we then do in the class. Pupil voice in my own class on, if I tried a different technique, what do you think? Has it worked? Have we gained more from it? I do quite a lot with them, which I really enjoy. And part of our after school meetings, I'm now part of the research and development group, which we've been looking this time at habits of discussion and building and how that can really help pupils progress in their learning and really question why something is the way it is, which has been really helpful.
There's quite a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Fab. And then just a final one from me. What other areas of the standards do you think have supported progress in this particular area in progression in learning?
So collaboration massively. So C1 and C2 have been incredibly helpful. And then looking at that wider research, investigating what is going to help these pupils learn. So PL1, wider reading and research has been, I think, the best ones for me in this standard.
Great, thank you.